and radiation biology there, and then opted to join Lynas. Didn't expect to stay long in Lynas, but end up, I think this is my 8 years, I believe. So, and the issue has been, in regard to my job, is basically to make sure that Lynas and the Australian do their job best, because this is Malaysia, this is my country. And I'm very proud to say that although this is the only industry that I work with, although I've dealt with many, I'm proud to say that Lynas have done a very good job. So, so what do you mean by done a good job? And especially with a lot of outcries, so are we saying that the public are actually is your status like? Yeah. Okay. Let me start off by I know that this is NIOSH, Institute of Occupational Safety and Health. Maybe I'll start off with a bit of occupational safety and health performance. Yeah. I must apologize again. I did not prepare any of the slides. I just came in and then thrown into here to present whatever that I can think of that can come up my head. But feel free to interject and question me if there is any that is of interest. I believe maybe one of the few companies that is certified under the ISO 6 months after operation. 6 months. We've got the ISO 9000, we've got the ISO 18000, and we have the OSAS. So we have both the quality, the environment, and the occupational safety and health. That speaks a lot, yeah? Because in order for you to secure those standards, you have to show proof that you actually have met all the requirements under the so-called systems that you have applied for. That's number one. Number two, when we operate, we are always being monitored by interested parties, whether it is the government, whether it is the public, even the consumer. So for Lynas to operate, we do not only have to comply with regulatory requirement, but as we all learn in occupational safety and health, it's self-regulation. And Lynas has proved self-regulation through compliance through implementation of best practices. And best practices are the one that not so much the regulatory requires, but the customers require. And that is why we have achieved many accolades of achievement, especially related to sustainability of the process. Okay? Now, in specific, I'd like to show you an example of radiation that what we've done. Radiation. This is the one that is of interest to many people. And in fact, what has been said, negatively said about Lynas are largely around radiation. Yeah? But whether you believe me or not, we have never had any issues with the ALP. The only question that comes a lot is with the DOE. It's because the DOE has a whole spectrum of monitoring. Now I'll explain to that, I will elaborate that a bit more. But how do you manage, for example, in terms of radiation? The first thing is, when we talk about, we all know very well about occupational safety and health, yeah? It's not about whether there is hazards, but whether there is risk, correct? And when it comes to risk, the first thing that comes into mind is what exactly are we dealing with? So in the case of Lynas, what we do is, we start off by doing a risk assessment. Okay, we carry out risk assessment on the material itself that we're working with. So, as mentioned by my colleague, the first material that we work with is the lanthionide concentrate. That's the one that comes into Malaysia. Interestingly, the IEA requires that anything less than that, you do not need to consider that in your transportation. But uniquely in Malaysia, so when we ship in our lanthionide concentrate, when it arrives at the port, we do not placard it with a radiation sign. But interestingly, when it arrives at Kuantan port, just before it leaves the port, we have to put a sticker that says it is a radioactive material. Why? Because in Malaysia, 1 becquerel is used as a guideline. So here, what I'm trying to say is there is a stricter regulation as compared to other countries. People used to say, oh, other countries, Malaysians are very, the regulations are not strict, outside regulations are stricter. So that's not true. That's not what. So as it comes in, we then do the risk analysis. Risk analysis involves what are the possible pathways. So we looked at it and we analyzed it. We did what we call the radiological impact assessment. Whether or not we use it, we process it, and then eventually we store it, will it impact the public, the workers, and the environment? We did that. And do you know that we have carried out 4 radiological impact assessments from day 1? 4 radiological impact assessments. Why? Because it is required by law that we need to do that at every license renewal conditions. I don't think anybody else does that. Do you know that when it comes to radiation, Lynas is not the only industry in Malaysia that's doing it? The Amang industry is the oldest industry, and I was working with it for 30 years. So you just know how old I am now. I'm very archaic. 30 years I worked with the university, and I spent about 15 years working with the Amang industry. Amang is the tin tailing. Tin tailing, that is radioactive. But Amang industry is not licensed. Why? The monazite that is produced in the Amang industry is 50 times higher than what Lynas is producing. And it is not licensed. It is regulated. But regulated and licensed are 2 different things, yes? Okay. The oil and gas. Anybody here from the oil and gas? Yeah. Our good friend here. If I say something wrong, please correct me if I'm wrong. The scales from the oil and gas process also produces, especially radium. Yeah? Because this is natural. And it is higher than what, in some places, not all, higher than what Lynas is producing. So, I'm giving you this perspective. Who works with the coal-powered plant? The coal-powered plant produces fly ash and bottle ash. That too is radioactive. Yeah? So, a whole lot of them are radioactive. Now, to put it in another perspective, anybody who have been to Langkawi, Pantai Pasir Hitam. Pantai Pasir Hitam is a small stretch of beach. Nobody goes there, nobody goes for a swim, except a lot of visitors. And these days you see a lot of Chinese from China, they come down, they seem to be everywhere these days. I was in Japan recently, the whole place was flooded with Chinese. My brother is in Turkey, and he told me, I cannot even go on a hot air balloon. The Chinese have already booked for 2 months. Okay, so but going back to the beach in Pantai Pasir Hitam has a black sand. That black sand is radioactive. Yeah? It has a higher uranium concentration than what is present in Lynas WLP. So I'm giving you that perspective. Yeah? So that when people talk about radioactivity, they always come up with Chernobyl, Fukushima, and what else? What do we have? So all about nuclear accidents. So that's number 1. So in reality, so what we are dealing with is a material that is radioactive by definition of the law. However, you can see where it is in relative terms. Once we process that, as I mentioned by Merkel, we expect to produce 2 things: emissions and solid waste, and even liquid waste in water. So what do? We have done the RIA, and the RIA, the radiological impact assessment, is an ordinary assessment, and it says that there is no risk. Yeah, I would say intrinsically low risk. There's no such thing as no risk. Forgive me for that statement. Intrinsically low risk. So that is only a prediction, an assessment. What is it in real life? In real life, this is what we did. We carried out 3 programs that is accredited by we carried out 3 monitoring programs. The first one is carried out by we carry out what we call occupational exposure monitoring. We also carry out environmental radiation monitoring, and we carry out aerosol monitoring. These are carried out by Lynas definitely because we are the owner, but carried out by accredited consultant, meaning to say we do not interfere, we do not take the sample, the consultant take a sample, they produce a report, we become the postman and we transfer it to the authorities. That's what we do. The beauty of it is that the first occupation monitoring, for those who are aware of, are familiar with the terms environmental erosion monitoring system, these are carried out, especially the environmental monitoring system. It was carried out during the first 4 years. It's like every month. Every month, we monitor the water, the air, the soil, the sediment, the biological systems. We monitor on a monthly basis. Subsequently, and then the aerosol monitoring system, these are the systems that are in place. They monitor real time. That means every now and then, right now we are sitting here, it's still monitoring. So if there's any abnormality in the reading, you will see that. So nobody is touching it. I don't even know how to manipulate the system. What I get is the data. If the data say it goes up, means it goes up. If it say go down, it's going down. But for the past since 2012, when we started operation, the reading has been continuously at the same boring level. Nothing. Nothing. That is real time. And you can have access to it. Meaning to say, if you go up on the website, I can give you the web page, you hook on to that, you can see what is the reading. In fact, when they first started buying it, I wasn't here. When I said, why do you want to monitor radon and toron in Kuantan, when the half-life of toron is only 1 minute, 59 seconds? But they say, well, because the public interest. That's important because we need to give confidence to the public. So we build it there. Although we know it's not going to do anything. So that is why when the first public came in, we put up a sign, we put up a display. It reads microsievert. The reading on average is about, background reading is about 0.1, 0.2 microsievert per hour. So can you imagine now the reading rate 0.1, 0.11, 0.12. So after 1 or 2 days after that, you lose interest. So we were called by the ALB, hey, I think you need to change the unit, it's too big. So what do you need us to do? Change it to nanosievert. So from a microsievert, we change it now to a nanosievert. Therefore, it reaches 125, 110. And then, so I asked them, why do you need to change the reading? It looks bigger and better, so you can see the difference. Okay, we change it. But for the past 7 years, nobody's interested in it anymore. So that's what it is. So we monitor that. Now, Lynas alone is not important because, well, Lynas is monitoring it. The ALB themselves, they even had an office there in the first part of our operation. After some time they get bought. Now their office are not there. It's left and it's an empty place. So they monitor the same thing and they reported the same thing. So you see how monitoring is done. Now, this is the one I was telling you. If you look at the 142, you can see that it's clear enough. This one is at the police station. Why we put it at the police station? For security reason, yeah? And over there is Atlanta. So if you want to find where the higher risk is, should there be any changes, it's not going to be in Kuantan. It's going to be in the Lynas plant. But do you know that the reading that we've monitored so far, the radiation level reading background is higher in Kuantan than in the Lynas plant itself? Why? Because of the concrete building in Kuantan. And if you go out into the palm oil plantation, you will find that the radiation level background is higher. Why? Because they're using phosphate fertilizer. I'll get back to you on that, the phosphate fertilizer. So, this is how we monitor. At one time we were told to monitor, look at that, 1 kilometer, 5 kilometer, 10 kilometer, 20 kilometers. If you look at that, I don't have a pointer. If you look at that 20 kilometers, it's here. Do you actually, I will ask the question, do you want us to go there to monitor in the ocean for a radioactivity level that is so low? Well, I'd say it's good. As far as I'm concerned, I'm happy with that because I can go fishing. But that was what we were required to do. Eventually, we managed to convince the authorities we do not need to. So we only monitor around this area. But if you look at the physics of the radiation itself, and you look at the transport pathways, this was done in order to provide comfort to the public. But it's important because I think public perception is very important, and there are very sincere concern, and we need to address that. And so that's what we do. And for the past what? Since 2012, when we started Operation November 2012, until today, we have yet to find any abnormal readings. Yeah, we have, because our RIA, as I said, we carry out for 4 times already. And the reason why we carry 4 times is because an RIA, radiological impact assessment, is a living document. So we need to keep on doing it just in case if there's something that we miss. When LD requires that our dose to our occupational exposure must be not more than 20 millisievert per year. But Lynas do not adopt the 20 millisievert per year. We adopt 6 millisievert per year. And our reading has been less than that. The same thing with the public. So number of radiation workers, we started off with 227. Why? Because the regulator says, if you look at the categorization required by the LD, they're not even radiation workers. I hardly have any reading on my batch. Hardly any reading. Even calculating the potential of risk, I will end up with probably maybe 2 or 3 people, maybe like Azam, who works with the facility, and Fatah, who always walk around the facility. Basically, for me, I don't do any of those things except once in a while. So, but I am a radiation worker. So, and we have the control area. At Lynas plant, there is no control area. There are 3 categories of, if you look at the old system of work-based categorization, we have the clean area, we have the supervised area, and the control area. But Lynas do not have a control area. But I insisted that we have 1, and we have 2. Why? Because I just want to make sure that people carry out the best so-called safety measures. So we end up with only 2 out of 13. Now, so again, the environmental radiation monitoring program shows equal to background. You may hear people say, "Oh, there are." I remember when we first started, there are anti-Lynas group. They came out with a radiation level, and it was brought to the attention of the technical community. And this person says, "Look at this reading. The reading is higher than the background. The reading has increased. The radioactivity, the radiation level has increased." So I cannot respond because I'm a Lynas staff. So the expert responded. These are people from either the academic or from the nuclear Malaysia. I remember one professor from UTM. There was this question they raised. Look at this level now. It has actually increased. So they pointed out to this professor. The professor says, "Where if you draw me a histogram, you can actually see it, increase from a level to another level, right? Now, if you remember how to plot your graph, you can actually change the how it looks like by changing the y-axis. You increase the y-axis, it becomes higher. So the first question they asked was, what is the permissible level? What is the background level? So it's not in there. So if it's not in there, then why bother all this? What I'm trying to say is that if the level say my finger is the histogram, and these are the so-called increase, but the limit allowed is up there. Who cares whether it goes up and down here? But that was the thinking among the argument that we had. But nevertheless, it's a concern we address and we address. So we called the IAEA because local expert, initially when we first started, when Lynas first started operation, there was a negative perception about our regulators and our government for that matter. I'm not going to say who's right or who's wrong with it, but of course they say I don't trust the government, I don't trust the regulator. So who do we trust? We trust the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency. That's the highest. They are neutral. So they came in, and I remember when before I joined Lynas, I was invited into that committee, the so-called IAEA expert. And they say, "Prof, can you join this IAEA expert as the one to review the Lynas operation?" And I said, "Sure, I like to. Who doesn't want to be appointed by the IAEA to be in this committee?" And then, so they appointed me. They nominated me. They haven't appointed. They nominated me, and they nominated one professor from USM. I can't remember one professor from USM. A few months later, they came back and said, "I'm sorry, Prof, I cannot nominate you. You cannot be appointed. Why? Because you're a Malaysian." What about the USM guy? He's also a Malaysian, so we cannot. So it ended up with a group of IAEA experts that came in. So fine. And you know what the IAEA expert says? Lynas operation is safe. But they made recommendations to the government to make sure it is safer. That was in 2011. In 2014, 3 years ago later, they came back again to make sure that whatever recommendation that was given to the government and Lynas is carried out. Again, they came out, and the statement that they made was, this time around, to confirm what their first visit was, in 2014 reported that those rates were intrinsically low. When they say intrinsically low means, when you talk about operation, we are talking about not only the processing of the material, yeah, but also how you manage the residue. And that residue is the one that is important to us. There's a lot of other concern. I'm not going to go through this because these are things, as I mentioned to you, relatively, yeah. For those who smoke, you are more exposed to radiation than people are, yeah, and this is normal, you know, but I want to scare you. I mean, that's the choice to choose. Yeah. So, that's exactly what happened. Now, what about the residues? Okay, what about the residues that we produce? What exactly is this residue? There are basically two types of residues that we produce. One is called the water leach purification residue. This is the one that is a radioactive material. Remember, the IEA defined radioactive material, which is adopted by Malaysia, is 1 becquerel per gram. Lynas is 6.7 becquerel per gram. 6 times. Compared to the Asia rare earth, 50 times. Yeah? Okay, so now, so that's the first one, the NUF. The second one is the NUF, the WW. The second one is the NUF. The NUF is a neutral research underflow. For Lynas, we call it this name. This is actually not the name. This is actually a process. But it's okay. It's easy for us to remember. But basically, NUF is actually a magnesium-rich gypsum. And this is the one that is equivalent to what you find in nature. The gypsum, which is widely used. If you remember the video, they show you how they make gypsum board. And this is actually suitable for also as a soil conditioner. The WLP is nothing more than iron phosphate. And phosphate, as you know, we Malaysia import phosphate fertilizer. And phosphate fertilizer, for your information, is in some cases, yeah, I've studied that there are places, phosphate, rock phosphate, that are by themselves a radioactive material. And we have been using some of this phosphate rock and as a fertilizer and repeatedly applied to the soil. I just came back from Denver 3 weeks ago for a conference on NOM. The people in Brazil actually use this rock phosphate, and they also produce phosphogypsum, which is radioactive. Interestingly, they're using it as fertilizer. So imagine now, if we could use this, yeah, as a fertilizer, we do not need to import the phosphate. The other most important thing is that when it comes to management of residue and waste, yeah, the best method of management is not from cradle to grave. You produce and then you bury. That's not a good one. The best is from cradle to cradle, meaning you produce it and you reuse it. By doing that, you reduce the carbon footprint. Imagine if you have to mine those phosphate, you're increasing the carbon footprint. So that is it. And we have actually done that. We have made a study and we have spent almost 9 million ringgit, plus with other research related to this, 55 million ringgit on research alone. I do not believe there is any other industry that has spent so much money. We spend 0.5% of our gross income on research. And we have been doing that since day one until recently, when the government decided that Lynas must stop research on WLP. To me, that was the worst decision that I've ever seen. You should never stop research. Yeah? No matter how difficult it is, no matter how useless it is, you should not stop. You know, even if WLP is a dangerous material, one should not stop research. Just like we were talking about snake venom. Yeah? To handle the snake, to get the venom is very dangerous. Yet, it is encouraged because the venom is important in order for you to produce cure, for snake bite. So I was very shocked when I saw the condition given to us recently that we have to stop all research in WLP. And when I came back from Denver, when I went to Denver 3 weeks ago, they were all, the Brazilian, the Canadian, and some other countries in the world are working aggressively on research to use this material. And here we are told to stop. So, but we have to comply. That's what the government wants, and that's what we do. So, we are actually working. We now have to decide not to work on it, and the only option available is for us is to store it. But remember this, guys, to store it is what we call the legacy. This is not a good legacy. But, bearing in mind the sensitivity of the public, we have to respect that. So, we need to store it. And should we store it, we must store it in such a way that even if now we cannot use it, maybe in the future when we have the knowledge and the acceptance, we can go back and dig it out to use it. Because bearing in mind, the residue, it may now be classified as a waste, but it do contains other material, other elements that we may not need now, or we may not have the technology to isolate it, but we may need to use it. So, in the case of NAF, it is a scheduled waste. Yeah? But a scheduled waste is only by definition under the DOE. A scheduled waste is not necessarily, I repeat, is not necessarily a toxic waste. It is by definition. In Australia, NAF, the same material, is not a scheduled waste. In Malaysia, it is a scheduled waste. But what Lynas has to do is to carry out research to prove that this material is safe. And we did that with the local researchers and consultants. We sent to laboratories like Sirin, Mardi, Jabatan Kimia. We sent it to Australia for them to make an assessment. They all came back and said the same thing. NAF is non-toxic, non-carcinogenic, non-radioactive material, non-volatile, non-hazardous, even though it is still classified as a scheduled waste. So we can still use this, and fortunately, the government has allowed us to use this for commercial, for use. Yeah, and what we need to prove now is to find the right ministry department to give that. So I'm going to stop just there because I think that's basically how we've done it. Now, of course, there are details of how we carry out research. We'll talk about that in there. So I think I'll stop here and thank you. Is there any question? Demonstration? Yeah, sure.
Yes. Your presentation earlier. Your product has a 6.5 becquerel exposure from Australia, right? Yes. May I ask, most of those material, are they alpha or beta or different emitters?
Alright, good question. First, when we talk about thorium and uranium, we talk about alpha, beta, and gamma. Because when we talk about thorium, we are also talking about the daughters. So if you're alpha, beta.
Since the product doesn't disappear from the process, where do most of those 6.5 exposures come?
Okay. As mentioned by my colleague Azam, the if you look at our raw material, the lateral portion was 6.5 becquerel or 6.7 becquerel, and if you look at the WLP, which is where the residue is, it's also 6.7 becquerel. So if you look at the radionuclide balance, it is from the basically more than 99% actually end up in the WLP. Okay?
Is it because if you learn in physics, it's alpha, beta, gamma. So for most of the industrial waste, alpha and beta would be the most things that we can students have been making for us for gamma.
I think your Either you are nervous or the mic is nervous. Go ahead.
My voice is a bit soft.
Okay.
So, if you study basic radiology,
I think better not use your voice. Your voice is much better without mic.
testing.
Oh, okay. You want to use this? Okay.
This is okay, so that's okay. That's just you.
Sure.
If you study basic radiology, most of the radiations that you need to be afraid of is actually alpha or beta or like that, because there's especially if you ingest it or if you use it alpha or beta, because structure will become infected inside the body. Whereas for gamma because they are so powerful, right? You don't have any shield against it. That's why. So, in
Yes.
your WRT, are those mainly concentrated with alpha or beta particles or is it gamma, mostly gamma particles?
Like I said, when we talk about WLP, when we have thorium, we have actually a secular equilibrium. A secular equilibrium means you have all the daughters together in there, and they all different of these daughters and the parent will emit alpha, beta, and gamma. Okay. Now, you're absolutely right. When we talk about internal hazard, when we talk about alpha and beta, the risk is when you ingest or you inhale. Absolutely right. And when we talk about gamma, it is when outside. So, but for us, when we assess the radiological risk, we consider all three different radiation, meaning alpha, beta, and gamma. We look at all the possible pathways, meaning ingest, inhale, inject, and external. So we total them all up, and then that gives you the exposed dose that you receive. So we do not isolate it, because when I work with radiation, for example, if I work with this material, this is my camera. This is a radiation detector. If you look at this detector, it has got a piece of covering. And that covering actually separates the gamma from the alpha beta. Alpha will not even penetrate the skin. Beta will penetrate the skin. A gamma will penetrate the whole thing. So by having this shield, you can actually cut off the gamma and measure alpha and beta. But when you open the whole thing, you measure everything. You close it, you only right now. If I were to take this, sorry, my voice is louder. Can you all hear me well?
No.
Okay. All right. Now, this is okay. I remember one time one of our staff actually to demonstrate that this material WLP is not toxic. You know what he did? He just take a packet and eat it. Just to show the, but I will not recommend it, of course. That's not a good thing to do. But he was so, I guess, so tired of trying to explain to people that this is not as dangerous as what most people will say, that he had to do those foolish things, which is not right at all. But anyway, okay, what I have here is, I don't know what we have here. This is the lanthionide concentrate. This is the one that comes from the plant. Now, I'm opening this so that I measure everything. Yeah? And listen to this. This is the background chirping. So I remember one time one of these so-called Lynas said, I do not want even a single drop of radiation. That's baloney, yeah? Okay. In your body there's 4,200. How much do you weigh? Sorry, nothing offensive. I weigh about 70 kg. 80. Okay. 70 kg like mine. I got 4,200 becquerel of K40 with a half-life of half-life of 1 million years. They talk about thorium, uranium being 14 billion years or 1 billion years. My body has got that amount. All of you has got that amount of radiation. So there's no such thing as no radiation. Okay. So the chirping actually is radiation level in this room. Okay. I bring this down. I bring it so that you can hear it. Can you hear that? That's the radiation level. 1.5. Okay, that's about 1.5. Well, I mean, if you have more, maybe it's about 2 to whatever. But you just hear the chirping, you can tell the difference. Yeah. Now, that's a concentrate that comes in. In Australia, if you travel all over the world, it's not supposed to have a sticker there. If you put a sticker, that is against the law. But in Malaysia, we have to put a sticker. Right? Now, where is my WLP? Okay, that's my WLP. It's the same kind of racing sound. It sounds like wow, you know. But do we? Did you bring in the? Okay, yeah, she knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, the mono side. Okay, this is Lynas. Okay, now this is Pantai Langkawi. Okay, now what is it? This is. Oh, back sand. Okay. Now you hear that sound. Okay. Right. You hear this is the raw material that comes in. This is the raw material. I mean the WLP that we use. Now this is the impera, the so-called monoxide, not regulated. The amount, yeah. One small bottle. You see, even you go, then it's already out of range. That is not regulated. Right? So I give so you're laughing, huh? I'm giving, you know, that's why when I saw the first time when I was in court, when these people, the anti-liners were wearing this so-called, this baju macam baju kalis regulation. Yeah? You tengok macam they're going to walk on Mars, you know, but never mind, it's okay. You know, sometimes it's nice to have this dress up. I dare not even bring it close because it actually can damage my equipment. Yeah? I'll let it off for a while, let it sort of cool down, and then I'll bring it down here. You hear that? Tat, 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 tat. But this one goes. So that is a time between the feeling there. Yeah? Okay. Now, okay, this is Pantai Pasitam, but Pantai Pasitam? Langkawi. Okay. Now, okay, but this is like as I said, the uranium concentration in here is higher than the one in here. These are analysis, yeah, carried out not by me, but I think there's a lecturer here who did actually carry out. Dr. Aznan, where is he? Ah, yeah, there you go, right in next to you. He's the guy who actually studied Langkawi, and he measured that the uranium concentration is higher than the one that is in the blood. So, just to give you the perspective, yes. Now, how do we store them on site? We are now required by law, by the government, to find a permanent disposal facility. Yes? Oh, Condisol. Okay. This is the one that I was telling you. We wanted to use it so that we can actually, we carry out research so that the WLP and the NUF can be used safely and commercially, so that we don't have to worry about PDF. Yeah? Because we know that we are using phosphate fertilizer. Yeah? And so we produce a condensate, a material that can be used. Which one? Ah, this one here. And okay, this is the reading, and now I bring it to you. Can you see the difference? The same chipping as here. Background. Yeah? It's actually background. But because of this fear for radiation, we cannot use this for our soil. And you know what? In our research, this was not carried out by Lynas, it was carried out by UPM. Of course, everybody knows UPM is good in agriculture. We did a parallel independent study with Mardi. So Mardi carried out one research, UPM carried out research on the same thing. They came out with the same result for almost 4 years. And their result shows that this material, this polysoil, improves problematic soil. If you look at Terengganu, Kelantan, Pahang, there's a whole stretch of basically useless soil. Nothing grows. We applied this on small area that was approved by the regulator to work on it. And we improve the productivity of it, and we measure the uptake of radioactivity, we measure contamination on the ground, we measure contamination in the water. There was none. But we respect the government decision. The government says no, we cannot use it. So although we know we can do it, we can use it, we eventually have to bury it. So we have decided to do that. Now, the question is, if we bury it, do you know how to do it? Do you know how to do it? When we started building, setting up this plant, we have a storage facility. That storage facility is designed and constructed, operated as if it is a permanent disposal facility. For the past 8 years, we monitored it to see whether or not it actually performs the way that we predicted, because we have to do an RIA, EIA, all the IIAs, and it turns out that is the best method if we need to store. Bearing in mind, we are sitting in, and you can see it now. It's a whole stack of it. We have quite a lot of it, And they say, "Wow, you have so much." The reason why we have so much is that because we are not allowed to use it, so that's why it keeps on increasing. But we have managed to store it now. With that information, with the knowledge that we have, we can now build confidently a facility that will store it permanently. Bearing in mind again, the radioactivity in there is lower than what you find in Amang, is lower than what we find in Asia Rare Earth, is lower than we find in the Pantai Pasir Hitam, is lower even in the oil and gas industry. It may not be as much as in the oil and gas industry, but bottom line is that's what we are talking about. The other thing is that can we provide the containment and isolation that is required so that it doesn't go into the environment? We are confident of saying that we can, but we have proven that it can actually be used as a commercial product. So if it can simply be used as a fertilizer, now we are storing it, where is the doubt about safety? Even if it leaks, I don't know what you mean by leak. We have done it because the thorium that is in our WLP is chemically insoluble unless we have to apply a very, very high acidic concentration, which will not happen in nature, right? So it will be there, it can be stored safely, we know how to do it, but it is unfortunate that we have to store it when we can actually use it, right? Okay. So I think basically that's how we handle our residues, that's how we handle our operation, and I'm very confident that we will have to comply with the government requirement, no matter what. Yeah? And interestingly, before I finish up my presentation, I just want to give you a bit of historical perspective. When we first started in 2013, the government was Barisan Nasional, correct? We had a committee called the Parliamentary Select Committee of Technical Committees. They came out with an assessment, Lynas operation is safe. But it was Barisan Nasional. So we appointed the IEA. The IEA came twice. They came up with the same conclusion, Lynas is safe. Now we have the new Pakatan Harapan government. They do not believe the Barisan Nasional government, right? Fair enough. And politics are always like that, So they appointed the minister, Ms. Yormormat Yobiyin, appointed a committee headed by expert, by her, handpicked by her. They did a study, same assessment, came out, same conclusion. Lynas operation is safe. So now, interesting is, every time when we go through the audit, the first time when we did the audit, we got 2 years. First, we start out with temporary operating license. Went for an audit, excellent, 2 years, full operating license. Came the next year, another audit, excellent, 3 years. The last one, again, everybody says very good. DOE, ALBM says very good, 6 months. That's what we're facing. But we are law-abiding company, so we abide by the decision. All right, thank you very much, everyone. Yes, yes.
Prof, thanks for the explanation. But I just have some concern. I think while you were talking, you told us about the IAEA. They came and they said there's some gaps that you need to address. Some gaps.
Yes.
Yeah. So are you all working on it?
We have the gaps actually. There, if my memory serves me well, there's about 11 recommendations.
Oh, all right.
7 was for the ALB. I believe there's only 3 for Lynas, and then there's another one is for general. So all are met.
Okay, thanks, Prof. Another thing I think in your talk that you were mentioning about phosphate,
Rock phosphate.
The reading in your plant is much lower than state of Kuantan, city of Kuantan. Now my point is, did you all do a reading when you was enacted your plant in the beginning? Was there any radioactive reading done in the city of Kuantan?
Oh yes.
Then was the reading low then?
No, the thing is this, everywhere in Malaysia, the background reading has been charted. Yeah, it has been measured. Not by us, but either by the regulators or if you can find in the public domain. There's a lot of research carried out by
was the reading lower or higher after operating?
the same. Same.
Then what is anti-Lynas is all about?
I don't know, maybe you need to ask them.
Exactly, because you see, in my context, my understanding, there's no clarity because everybody speaks about it.
Yeah.
And even a politician speaks better than you.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
And he's not a subject matter expert.
Absolutely right.
So I think there is some clarity now. The do's and don'ts and how you all have managed it.
Yes.
Probably my concern only going as a safety practitioner, whatever gaps that IAEA has told you, you can upgrade it, look forward, the way forward, I think.
Let me give you a little anecdote between my encounter with the IEA expert. One of them, when we were having this meeting, because they talk to everybody, all the stakeholders, including the public, anti-Lynas, the government, and Lynas. So in one of the sessions, I was there. They asked a question. They says, your radiation level is so low. Why did you calculate the risk, the cancer risk? They asked me that question. And the thing is, you know how he asked me, Professor. And I was like, whoa, why do you address me as a professor? Because I'm way out of the league. Why did you calculate cancer risk when you know very well that the radiation level is very low? So I said, don't look at me. Look at the officer there. They wanted me to calculate. So for me, calculation is not difficult. It's only a mathematical calculation. But in reality, we had to do it because we are required to do it. And with due respect to the regulators, because they also have to answer to a lot of people, we calculated it. But we do not need to. You see, that's why sometimes I wish, if you look at my experience for the past years, I wrote a book on risk communication. But I can tell you this, I can take my risk communication textbook and throw it out the window. Because in Malaysia, and maybe it's true, when I was in Japan, the same thing, when we had a presentation, the issue is not about the information, but the issue is about either misinformation or disinformation, for whatever reason. Yeah, I'm not in a position to say because each and every one of them has their reasons. But as a scientist, I have to tell them the facts. It may not be accepted. I remember in one of the meetings with a minister, I said, dear ministers, this is the fact. You know what he said to me? Or they said to me, rather, because there were a group of them. They said, Prof, this is not about science. This is about politics. Alright? So you see, you can, and even at one time, I went to see Tun Mahathir. Explaining to him, this was before he became the Prime Minister. He was sitting in Petronas Twin Tower, before he get thrown out of Petronas Twin Tower. I went to see him, and I said, Tone, because he is a respected person, so the best person maybe you need to, provide this which to him. I said, Tone, this is the fact about Lynas operation. The way we have been vetted through by experts of the whole world has been looking at it. Right now, everybody's looking at it. And you know what he says, Prof? He says, do they listen to you? I said, unfortunately, not all of them. The critical people are not listening to me. That's the reason. Because it's nothing to do about your knowledge, nothing to do about your expertise. It's about how they're going to use it for their objective. So that's what it is. So that is the uphill battle that we all have to face at Lynas. But it's a good exercise. Maybe when I retire from Lynas the second time around, I'll write a book on risk communication. A good one, a practical one. You're welcome. Yes?
In this Lynas project, visited the facility because we have not taken when I was reported there in content. You have extended an invitation to them to visit the facility so that you can explain to them. Even we reporters were invited. Some of us were scared at first because they thought that some of us thought that there's a very dangerous facility because some of them think there's a nuclear plant, something like that. So, have they ever visited the facilities and listened to your explanation there?
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I remember Hamza very well. He was one of the first few who came, and I think that time you are the editor of Straits Times in Kuantan, correct, Paul? Yes, and thank you very much. If you ask us, have we communicated with them? We have engaged more than berapa ribu ya? Kita cakap berapa? Sorry, we got, I believe, berapa thousand? No, berapa ribu kita dah engage people at Lynas plant? More than 70. More than 17,000 people came to Lynas. I'm talking about coming to Lynas. Not, these are not included. They came to Lynas. We have given an open invitation. I have given talk to people who are either from schools, from NGOs, professional bodies, and even anti-Lynas group. But not that SMSL or whatever. So, I mean, they have their reasons. I'm not going to talk about that. But they came and we explained to them. They ask us questions that are not easy to answer, but we provide them with the answer. So yes, we have engaged with them. And those so far that I know of, when we have engaged with them, I remember there's one Cikgu, I can't remember his name, Cikgu Chang or Cikgu Kong, like one of them. I met with him in 2012 when he came. He came with an aggressive face, very angry face. You know, he says, "Oh, you guys, you know, the way thinking, you guys are going to kill us, you know what to do." But after that, somehow or other, he mellowed down. He became, you know, quiet. He said, "Okay, now I understand, you know, so I think you should have more communication." That's what he told us. He told me, and I remember that. There were three of them, three old, I call them the three old wise Chinese men. They came in, you know, muka garang aja, muka macam kata orang nak telan hidup lah on that day. But we were happy. 3 months ago, I got a call. "Hello, Prof. Ingat tak ni cikgu? Cikgu Tan, Cikgu Tong, sorry." And dia kata, okay, ingat cikgu, tapi saya tak ingat lah, sebenarnya dah lupa kan. Imagine berapa lama datang. He came back with a photograph. Where is these people? Where are these people? The pictures of what he took when he came. And he says, "Do you know about all these points?" I says, "I know, cikgu, I know." I said, "Okay, you have to fight. You have to give up the point. You have to explain." I said, "Cikgu, I need your help, cikgu. I cannot explain to them. Only the public like you can explain." Dia kata, "Ayah, I takut lah." because you know, you. And then there's also another guy, Datuk Dr. Louis. If you surf the internet, you look at the name Datuk Dr. Louis. Datuk Dr. Louis is a physician, and he works with radiation. He writes a lot. Sometimes it makes me very difficult to understand what he writes, but he is very, very, what do you call that? He is very, very technical in terms of his approach, and he is very supportive of that Lynas. He always gives a good perspective. So I think the answer to your question is, it's all about communication. But I remember there was one professor from Australia. We had a teleconference. So he asked me, "Prof, did you do this? Did you tell this? Did you do this in terms of communication?" I said, "We have done everything humanly possible." But I asked this professor, I said, "Prof, can you tell me, how do you talk to someone who doesn't want to talk to you?" He said, "I got no answer for that one." So that's exactly what we're facing. And I wish we could have people that are against Lynas to come. Lynas, come and listen. You don't have to agree, but listen. Because there was one incident where they came. They said, "Don't tell me anything. I know everything. I know everything." So I said, "How do you know everything when you have not seen it?" "Oh, I know." And then they say, "We have a drone flying over to your site." And then when you have drones flying on the site, and they say, "Oh, that's WLP, that's WLP, everything is WLP." I say, "Excuse me, that's NUF." "Oh, okay, never mind, that's NUF, but you know, we know." So, and then there's a picture of, they produce a picture of a flooded area, of where Lynas can be flooded, can be submerged in water, and the water, you know, you can get dispersed. So when you look at the photo carefully, the land is flat, right? And then you see water, and all of a sudden you see some ground, surface ground. Now you tell me, if the land is flat, and then you have water covering most of it, and all of a sudden you get a little mound of land, what does that tell you? Is it at that level of water, or is it that level of water? When you know it's a flat land. So there was no flood. That area cannot be flooded. You know why? Because Lynas level is 8 meters above the mean water sea level. 8 meters. We built the RSF, residue storage facility, another 5 meters high. So meaning to say, the water has got to rise up to 8 plus 5, that's 13, right? 13 meters above the sea level. If that happens, the whole of Kuantan is already flooded. Tosa Cita, Lynas, BSFF, all those petrochemical industries are already flooded. And they are much more dangerous than Lynas. Because you know why? Even if they get diluted, they get dispersed. Because just like in the background. So that's what it is. So, but we have to argue on that basis too. And recently there was a talk about underground water being contaminated. Somebody probably have heard that. We didn't say much about the underground water. You know why? There was no contamination of groundwater. But it did come out in the report. But the report says, this executive report says, investigation must be carried out to identify what actually happened that caused an increase in groundwater contamination of heavy metal. Immediately when I saw that document, I initiated a study group. Fortunately for us being academicians, we're always excited about research. So I went to talk to the authorities. They said, no, we cannot do research with you. Then we will have no so-called, the issue of unbiasedness is not there. So I said, okay, we'll work ourselves. So we carried out our research, they carried out their research, and then it came out there was never any contamination. It was just an incorrect reporting of the data. That's it. And so what happened now? So there was never any groundwater contamination. There was never release of radioactive material. The radioactive material that we produce can be stored, can be used, but we still have to live with this. And we've got 4 court cases that Lynas went through. 4 court cases. It's not about against Lynas, it's against the government. And all those cases, we won. So what else is there for us to prove? Yeah, so itulah cerita yang menarik ya. But that's what we face. But it actually makes us more mature in managing safety. Yeah.
Just one question.
Sure.
You are using your counter.
Yes.
The readings, those are beta readings or gamma readings?
As I said, I open up the
All readings,
everything.
including alpha.
Alpha, you see, okay. When you want to measure alpha, first you have to open the cover, right? Okay. Now, alpha, the range is only in millimeter. Meaning to say, okay, let me give you a demonstration.
Prof, my question is very simple.
Yeah.
Can you detect alpha? That's all?
Yes.
Okay.
But I want to show you something else. You see, okay. Because you need to know this. The reason is very simple. Because people are talking about radiation level, in quantum somebody's going to get sick, radiation level. Now, listen to the sound. I want to show you, if I want to measure alpha, it has got to be right there. You see, there's a little tombol kat sini now. You must place it on top, then you measure alpha. Now, listen to this. Okay. So, alpha you measure there. Beta maybe that much, gamma you can go higher. So that's what I'm trying to say. So when we talk about radiation, it's not as easy as what people say alpha, beta, gamma. There's a lot more to it.
How about the alpha level in the water?
Alpha, okay, when we measure water, when we monitor water for contamination in water, we measure radium-226. We measure Ross alpha, beta. What we do is, the first thing that we do is, we do not know what radionuclide there are in the water because in nature there's so many things, right? So we measure alpha and beta. So because that's the one we drink, and that's where the hazard comes in, the risk comes in. So when we measure, there's no gross alpha, no beta, that means we still confirm that with radium-226, right? Because radium-226 also emit gamma and alpha. So we measure that. Until today, we do not see any significant changes in the level. Okay? Right? Okay. Any other questions? Okay, kalau tak ada, I want to say on behalf of on behalf of Lynas, I'm so happy that we have a big audience today. I hope this will add up to the 7,000 plus audience that we have talked to. And I would also like to say thank you to NIOSH for having invited us to do this presentation. It's never that easy to bring in a group of interested people to come.